A woman's heart is one of the most powerful aspects of her being. It is the center of her emotions, her compassion, her love, and her deepest desires. But it is also vulnerable. The heart can be both a source of incredible strength and profound sensitivity. A woman's heart holds the capacity to give love and receive it, to nurture and heal, to dream and to hope. It's a place where God speaks to her intimately, where her true identity is formed, and where her deepest values and desires reside. But because of its deep emotional nature, the heart can also be easily hurt by the world around her. It's why the scriptures urge us to guard it with great care. When a woman exposes her heart too freely, or gives it to others who may not treat it with the reverence it deserves, she opens herself to hurt. When the world sees her heart too easily, it might take advantage of it, misunderstand it, or even break it. In the fast-paced, judgmental world we live in, not everyone can be trusted with the sacredness of her inner emotions. Just as a precious jewel must be carefully protected, so must a woman's heart. This isn't about hiding her emotions completely or shutting others out. It's about knowing when to let someone in and when to protect the vulnerability of her heart. The Bible calls for us to guard our hearts, for everything we do flows from it. Proverbs 4:23. This passage isn't just about protecting the heart from external harm. It's about cultivating a heart that is pure, full of love, and connected to God's purposes. When a woman's heart is kept with care, it becomes a powerful force for good, radiating kindness, compassion, and love in a way that heals and empowers others. But it must be done wisely. When a woman understands the value of her heart and the sacredness of what it holds, she learns to share it with those who will protect it, cherish it, and honor it. This wisdom protects not only her, but also allows her heart to remain a vessel of light and love that cannot be diminished by the world's harshness. A woman's faith is deeply personal and powerful, yet it is something that often must be protected and nurtured in private. It is easy to become distracted by the noise and demands of the world and to let others try to dictate what faith should look like or how it should be expressed. But a woman's relationship with God is not for the eyes of others to measure or evaluate. It is something that flows directly from her spirit to his. Faith in its truest form is intimate, quiet, and transformative. When a woman spends time in prayer, seeking God's wisdom, love, and guidance, that time must be sacred. It is during these quiet moments with God that she finds the peace, strength, and resilience to face life's challenges. This deep connection cannot be broadcast for the sake of approval or public validation. As much as her faith impacts the world around her, it is in the solitude of her own heart that it is strengthened and refined. Jesus himself taught us that there is great value in a private faith. In Matthew 6:6, he says, "But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen." It is in that stillness, in that quiet moment behind closed doors, where a woman truly connects with God. It is in that space that she finds strength, comfort, and guidance that no one else can give. Her faith becomes her anchor, her source of courage, and her deep well of grace that she can draw from in times of trouble. While there is certainly a time and place for public worship and sharing of faith, there is something sacred about keeping parts of that relationship hidden from the eyes of others. When a woman's faith is hidden, she preserves its purity. She allows it to grow and evolve in the secret place where God can work in her life undistracted. It becomes a well of power that does not need the approval of the world. It is enough to know that her faith is strong, that it is deeply rooted in God's love, and that it shapes every action, decision, and moment of her life. Faith in its quietest and most private form is often the most powerful. It is here that a woman is truly free to be who she was created to be. unhindered by expectations, unshaken by the opinions of others, and deeply connected to the source of all strength. As she guards her faith, she will find herself increasingly aligned with God's will and equipped to meet every challenge life throws her way. This hidden faith becomes the foundation for a woman's true power. A woman's struggles are an integral part of her journey, but they are not meant to be laid bare for the world to see. There is a quiet strength in carrying burdens that are not shared with everyone. In a world that often demands transparency, vulnerability, and constant sharing, there is something sacred about a woman's ability to face challenges with grace and strength, even in silence. Her struggles, whether they be emotional, physical, or spiritual, are deeply personal, and there is great wisdom in knowing that not every trial needs to be exposed for the world's judgment. The power in guarding her struggles lies in the opportunity for growth. When a woman faces difficulties without constantly airing them to the world, she allows herself the space to work through them with God's help, to process them, and to come out on the other side stronger and more refined. It is in the quiet moments, the late nights of prayer and reflection, that God often works his most profound miracles in her life. These struggles, though painful at times, are a means of personal transformation. They are the moments where her faith is tested, where her character is shaped, and where she learns the true depth of her strength. When a woman is careful about sharing her struggles, she protects herself from unnecessary exposure to negative judgment or unsolicited advice that might undermine her progress. The world does not always understand the depths of a person's pain or the purpose behind their struggles. Not every hardship needs to be explained or justified. Some are just between her and God. As she faces these struggles with courage and determination, she preserves the sanctity of her journey. The pain she experiences in silence becomes a part of her testimony, a source of strength for herself and those she will eventually help. Moreover, by guarding her struggles, she also sets an example of resilience for others. She teaches those around her that it is okay to face challenges head on without feeling the need to constantly share them with the world. She shows them that it is possible to lean on God for strength, to walk through fire without being consumed by it, and to emerge from adversity with a renewed sense of purpose and strength. In doing so, she becomes a beacon of quiet strength and inspiration for others to rise above their own struggles with grace and dignity. As she learns to navigate life's challenges in private, she will also discover a profound peace that only comes from trusting God with her burdens. She doesn't have to prove anything to anyone or justify her pain. Instead, she can rest in the assurance that God sees her, knows her struggles, and is walking with her through every trial. When a woman learns to guard her struggles, she unlocks the transformative power of resilience and becomes a living testimony of God's ability to bring beauty from ashes. A woman's ambitions are often the driving force behind her passions, her work, and her vision for the future. However, not every dream, goal, or aspiration needs to be shared with everyone. There is immense power in keeping certain ambitions hidden, for it allows a woman to nurture her dreams in private, away from external distractions, judgments, or unnecessary pressures. In a world where everyone seems to have an opinion about what success should look like or what a woman's goal should be, there is a special kind of freedom in letting those ambitions take shape in the quiet of her heart before she reveals them to the world. Ambition, when shared too early, can sometimes be met with criticism or skepticism. People may not always understand or support the dreams a woman carries. They may doubt her abilities, question her choices, or place limitations on what they believe she can achieve. This is why guarding her ambitions can be a form of self-preservation, giving her the space to dream without the weight of other people's doubts or opinions weighing her down. By keeping her ambitions hidden until the time is right, she is better able to focus on the work at hand, to take the necessary steps to bring her dreams to life without being sidetracked by unnecessary noise. In addition, keeping ambitions hidden allows her to refine her vision in the stillness. Just as a seed grows in the darkness of the earth before it sprouts above the soil, so too can a woman's dreams grow in the hidden places before they become visible to the world. She is able to shape her vision, prepare herself for the challenges ahead, and refine her skills without the pressure of proving herself to others. When her goals are kept close to her heart, she can build a solid foundation, set her own pace, and ensure that when she steps forward, her dreams are rooted in purpose, clarity, and authenticity. The act of keeping ambitions private also fosters humility. It is easy to get caught up in boasting about what we want to achieve or seeking validation from others for our dreams. But when a woman guards her ambitions, she removes the temptation to show off or to seek approval before her time. She understands that not every victory needs to be broadcast to the world, and that her worth is not measured by the applause of others, but by the content of her character and the integrity with which she pursues her goals. Her journey becomes a quiet testament to her dedication and perseverance, and when the time is right for her dreams to be revealed, they will shine with a brilliance that speaks for itself. Moreover, guarding her ambitions allows her to remain focused on the right reasons for pursuing her goals. It prevents her from becoming distracted by comparison or the desire to outshine others. It becomes less about external recognition and more about the satisfaction of fulfilling God's calling for her life. When her ambitions are hidden, she is free to pursue them with integrity, grounded in faith and guided by purpose. She is not swayed by the opinions of others or the desire for accolades, but is instead driven by a deeper sense of calling and responsibility. In the end, keeping ambitions hidden is not about secrecy or isolation. Rather, it is about the wisdom to protect one's dreams until the right time. It is about allowing God to shape those ambitions in His timing and trusting that He will reveal them when the world is ready to see what He has been cultivating in the private spaces of her heart. This process of careful preparation, humble pursuit, and quiet dedication can lead to a life of profound fulfillment and success, not defined by external validation, but by the joy of seeing dreams fulfilled in alignment with God's purpose. A woman's personal struggles with her identity are perhaps one of the most profound and intimate aspects of her life. Identity is deeply tied to how she sees herself, how she believes others see her, and how she believes God views her. In a world filled with pressure, comparison, and societal expectations, it is easy to lose sight of one's true self. But the secret to strength lies in the quiet pursuit of self-awareness and self-acceptance that doesn't need to be shared with everyone. A woman must guard this journey of self-discovery because it is a deeply sacred and transformative process. The process of understanding who you are is not something that can be easily explained or fully understood by others. It is a personal journey, sometimes a quiet, hidden one, that shapes the core of her being. As a woman moves through different seasons of life, her identity will evolve, and these shifts are often deeply emotional. There are moments of uncertainty, moments of doubt, and moments of profound clarity. But through all of this, the journey to understanding her true identity must be protected from the prying eyes of others. For when others impose their views or expectations on her identity, it can distort the truth of who she truly is. Identity, when shared too freely with the wrong people, can be manipulated or even undermined. In a world that constantly measures success, beauty, worth, and value according to external standards, a woman must protect the essence of her true self. When she doesn't take time to reflect, to seek God and to discover her true purpose, she becomes vulnerable to the opinions and judgments of others. This is why it's important for her to guard the process of identity formation from the noise of the world. She must seek understanding from the only one who truly knows her, God. It is through prayer, introspection, and moments of stillness that a woman can hear the whisper of God's voice, revealing the truth about who she is in Him. God, the creator of the universe, has formed her in His image. He has designed her for a unique purpose, with a story that only she can live. This truth cannot be fully understood or appreciated by others until it is first fully embraced in her own heart. It is when a woman fully knows who she is in Christ that she finds the peace and security that no external validation can provide. That she finds the peace and security that no external validation can provide. In addition, keeping her journey of self-discovery private gives her the freedom to make mistakes, to grow and to evolve without the fear of judgment. It allows her the space to experiment with different aspects of her identity, to try on new roles, new relationships, and new experiences without being confined by others' expectations. She is not bound by the need for others' approval or by the desire to conform to what society deems acceptable. Instead, she is free to become the person God is calling her to be without the distractions of comparison or criticism. As she navigates the complexities of her identity, a woman must be careful not to reveal too much too soon. The world can be quick to label and judge, and when a woman is still discovering who she is, sharing her evolving identity can invite confusion and misunderstanding. She must protect the sanctity of her inner journey, knowing that the pieces of her identity will fall into place in God's perfect timing. This process of guarding her identity doesn't mean she hides herself away or keeps her true self from the world forever. It simply means that there is wisdom in knowing when to reveal different aspects of who she is. Some parts of her identity are best nurtured in private, away from the prying eyes of those who may not understand her process, or who may try to impose their expectations on her. As she learns to guard her identity, she also learns to trust God with the revelation of who she is. She becomes confident in her worth and her calling, and her identity becomes an unwavering foundation on which she can build her life. Ultimately, when a woman learns to protect her journey of self-discovery and allows God to lead her into the fullness of who He has created her to be, she becomes a reflection of His glory. She no longer seeks the approval of others, for she knows that she is deeply loved and valued by the Creator of the universe. In guarding her identity, she doesn't limit herself. Rather, she frees herself to become everything God intended her to be. A woman's heart is a delicate treasure, and it must be guarded with great care. The emotional depth and sensitivity that women often possess can be both a blessing and a vulnerability. In a world where emotions are frequently on display and hearts are too easily exposed, there is great wisdom in keeping certain aspects of the heart hidden from the world. The heart in its rawest and most unguarded state is where a woman's deepest desires, fears, and wounds reside. It is a sacred space that deserves to be protected, nurtured, and only shared with those who are worthy of such trust. When a woman guards her heart, she is protecting herself from unnecessary pain and heartache. In a world where trust can sometimes be broken, where love can be given in vain, and where people may not always appreciate the preciousness of her heart, it is vital that she be discerning in whom she gives it to. The heart is not something to be given away freely to just anyone. It is a gift that must be offered carefully after time, patience, and a deep understanding of the person to whom it is entrusted. When a woman is careful with her heart, she maintains her emotional well-being, and she ensures that her love and affection are not taken for granted. There is also power in the quiet strength that comes with keeping certain emotions and vulnerabilities hidden. A woman doesn't need to broadcast every emotional struggle, every disappointment, or every heartbreak for the world to see. By holding some of these things close to her heart, she demonstrates resilience and strength in the face of adversity. She doesn't let every difficulty define her. Instead, she processes her emotions privately, seeking peace and healing through prayer, reflection, and time with God. The world does not need to witness every tear shed or every battle fought. Some of the most powerful healing happens in the stillness, away from the judgment and opinions of others. Moreover, when a woman keeps her heart guarded, she is protecting the purity and integrity of her love. Love, when shared too quickly or too recklessly, can be tainted by selfishness, manipulation, or the pursuit of validation. By keeping her heart protected, a woman ensures that her love remains pure, not dependent on external circumstances or the approval of others. Her love is a reflection of the love that God has for her, unconditional, constant, and unwavering. It is a love that is not easily swayed by circumstances or the actions of others, but is rooted deeply in her relationship with God. Guarding the heart also provides space for growth. A woman's emotional maturity and her ability to love deeply are cultivated over time. When she does not rush to share her heart with everyone, she allows herself the opportunity to grow in wisdom and discernment. She learns what is worth fighting for and what is worth letting go. She comes to understand the difference between healthy relationships and those that may not serve her well. She also learns to love herself first, to care for her own emotional needs before giving too much of herself to others. The more a woman guards her heart, the more she understands the importance of setting boundaries, nurturing her own well-being, and making space for relationships that bring her peace and joy. In addition, by keeping her heart guarded, a woman can better align her emotional world with the will of God. It is easy to be swept up by the desires of the world, by the desire for approval, validation, and connection. But when she keeps her heart protected and centered on God, she is better able to hear His voice, to follow His guidance, and to live out His purpose for her life. Her heart, guarded and secure in God's love, becomes a source of strength, a wellspring of peace, and a place of refuge amidst the noise and chaos of life. In a world that often demands emotional openness and vulnerability, there is a quiet power in knowing when to keep certain parts of the heart hidden. A woman does not need to expose every part of herself to be known or loved. She can maintain her emotional integrity, her sense of self-worth, and her inner peace by carefully guarding her heart. When she protects the deepest parts of who she is, she not only preserves her own well-being, but also honors the sacredness of her emotional world. As she learns to keep her heart hidden in the right moments, she strengthens her relationship with God, cultivates wisdom in her relationships with others, and finds the courage to love deeply, authentically, and without regret. A woman's mind is a powerful and intricate thing, capable of immense strength and wisdom, but it is also a space that must be protected because the world often bombards it with thoughts, expectations, and distractions that can cloud clarity and purpose. The thoughts she allows to occupy her mind can shape her outlook on life, affect her decisions, and influence how she interacts with the world around her. It is vital, then, that a woman learns to guard her thoughts, to be selective about what she allows to take root in her mind, and to protect the space within her that shapes her reality. One of the most important things a woman must guard is the constant flow of external noise. Every day we are bombarded with messages from the media, from people, from society's ideals of beauty, success, and happiness. These messages are designed to create a sense of inadequacy, to convince her that she is not enough unless she meets certain standards or attains specific achievements. If a woman is not careful, these messages can settle deeply into her mind and heart, eroding her sense of self-worth and the confidence in her own unique identity. However, there is immense power in what she chooses to focus on. By protecting her mind, she can create space for the thoughts that will help her grow, the ideas that will build her up, and the truths that will lead her to freedom. This is why it is so crucial for her to guard against toxic thoughts. Thoughts of comparison, bitterness, self-doubt, and fear. These are the thoughts that steal joy, that trap her in cycles of insecurity, and that hinder her from walking in the fullness of her purpose. A woman who is intentional about what she allows to fill her mind can keep herself grounded in peace, confidence, and the truth of who she is in Christ. The Bible speaks to the importance of guarding our thoughts. Philippians 4:8 urges believers to think about whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, and praiseworthy. These are the qualities of the thoughts she should invite into her mind, the thoughts that will protect her from the negative influences that constantly surround her. By dwelling on these things, she strengthens her mental clarity, her emotional health, and her spiritual well-being. She aligns her thoughts with God's truth, reminding herself that she is fearfully and wonderfully made, that her worth is not defined by the opinions of others, and that she is deeply loved by the Creator of the universe. When a woman guards her mind, she also learns to protect her peace. The peace of mind that comes from focusing on what is good and pure is not easily disturbed by the chaos of life. Trials, disappointments, and challenges will come, but the peace she cultivates through intentional thought is a shield that protects her from the storm. When she can quiet the noise of worry, doubt, and anxiety, she is better able to hear the still, small voice of God guiding her toward the right decisions and actions. The ability to guard one's mind also involves being mindful of the people she allows to influence her thoughts. There are individuals who may not have her best interests at heart, who may sow seeds of doubt or confusion in her mind. Negative words, unkind judgments, and unsolicited opinions can pollute her mental space, making it difficult for her to discern God's will for her life. For this reason, a woman must choose her relationships carefully. Surrounding herself with individuals who encourage her, speak truth into her life, and help her grow in her faith will nurture her mind and spirit. Furthermore, guarding the mind helps a woman maintain focus on her purpose and the direction God has for her life. It is all too easy to become distracted by the noise of everyday life, the pressure to achieve, the need to meet expectations, the fear of failure. But a mind that is guarded by God's truth remains anchored in purpose. It does not stray from the path, for it knows that the ultimate calling is to honor God in all things. A woman who protects her thoughts stays centered on what matters most, whether it be nurturing relationships, serving others, or walking in obedience to God's calling on her life. A woman's mind is also a place where dreams are conceived. The thoughts she allows to take root can either fuel her dreams or stifle them. If she guards her mind and protects it from negative influences, she opens herself up to the possibility of creative thought, ambition, and the courage to pursue her goals. A guarded mind is free to dream big, to believe in possibilities, and to trust that with God's guidance, anything is possible. Her thoughts shape the future she will walk into, so it is imperative that she chooses to fill her mind with hope and vision for what lies ahead. Lastly, the mind is where spiritual growth occurs. It is through the renewal of the mind that a woman experiences transformation in her life. Romans 12:02 tells us not to conform to the patterns of this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. This transformation begins when she chooses to align her thoughts with God's Word, when she meditates on Scripture, when she allows God's truth to challenge her thinking. Her mind is renewed. and her life begins to reflect the love, peace, and joy that come from knowing Christ. A guarded mind is open to the work of the Holy Spirit, who empowers her to grow in faith, wisdom, and understanding. By guarding her mind, a woman holds the key to unlocking her full potential. She protects her peace, her purpose, and her ability to live a life aligned with God's plan for her. A mind filled with truth, hope, and love is the foundation on which she can build a life of strength, joy, and fulfillment. It is a mind that remains untouched by the lies of the world and stands firm in the confidence that, in Christ, she has all she needs to thrive. A woman's actions speak louder than words, and it is often through her actions that she reveals the depths of her character. Her actions reflect the strength of her faith, the purity of her intentions, and the beauty of her heart. Yet, not every action should be shared with the world. Some things, deeply personal and sacred, are best kept private. The way a woman chooses to act, especially in moments of difficulty or challenge, reveals the strength of her inner spirit. Her decisions and the way she chooses to respond to adversity shape the life she lives and the legacy she will leave behind. In a world that often demands visibility and recognition, there is great wisdom in knowing when to keep certain actions quiet. A woman's true character is not defined by how much she does for others or how many accolades she receives, but by the intentions behind her actions. It's easy to be tempted to show the world everything she is doing, to seek praise and acknowledgement. But true fulfillment comes from knowing that her actions are seen by God alone and that she doesn't need the world's approval to validate her worth. There is also a tremendous strength that comes from acting with humility, choosing not to boast or make a show of every good deed. Jesus spoke of this in Matthew 6:1. First, warning against performing acts of righteousness in order to be seen by others. When a woman chooses to keep her good deeds between herself and God, she places the focus where it belongs, not on her own recognition, but on God's glory. She understands that her worth is not found in public applause, but in the quiet, consistent pursuit of goodness, integrity, and kindness. Similarly, some actions are meant to be private because they are a form of spiritual protection. For instance, the way a woman prays or seeks God's guidance may be a deeply personal experience that she doesn't always need to share. Prayer is a sacred conversation with the Creator, and it is in the privacy of these moments that she is often shaped, refined, and strengthened. The intimacy of her relationship with God should not be exposed to others simply for the sake of validation. Her private prayer life allows her to communicate freely and honestly with God, to express her fears, desires, and hopes, knowing that He listens to her in her vulnerability and stillness. In addition to prayer, the acts of forgiveness and grace are sometimes best kept private. Forgiving others is not always something that requires public acknowledgement. Sometimes the most powerful acts of forgiveness happen in silence, when a woman chooses to let go of bitterness or resentment without needing to share it with the world. Her ability to forgive, to move forward without holding on to grudges, is an internal victory that shapes her character and brings peace to her soul. There is immense freedom in choosing not to share every instance of forgiveness with others, but rather to offer it quietly and directly to the person involved, or even in the privacy of her own heart. By keeping certain actions private, a woman also protects her emotional and spiritual boundaries. She ensures that her kindness and generosity are not taken for granted or exploited. The world can be quick to take advantage of a kind and giving spirit, and in such cases, it is important to protect the purity of her intentions. By choosing not to publicize every charitable act or kind gesture, she ensures that her heart remains untarnished by the praise of others and focused solely on the greater good. She doesn't give because she seeks acknowledgement, but because it is a reflection of her love for God and her desire to serve others. Furthermore, there is wisdom in knowing when to act in silence and solitude, especially in moments of crisis or turmoil. Not every battle needs to be fought in the open. A woman may find herself facing trials that no one else understands, struggles that are personal, difficult, and private. During these times, her strength is often shown in her quiet resilience, in her ability to hold firm to her faith without needing to make it known to everyone. Her actions in these moments may be simple and quiet, a moment of prayer, a deep breath, an inner commitment to persevere. These actions do not require validation from others. They are a testament to her strength and trust in God, who is working behind the scenes even when no one else can see it. By choosing to keep certain actions private, a woman also protects her peace. She doesn't allow the opinions or judgments of others to dictate how she lives her life or how she handles her struggle. She is not concerned with the external pressure to conform or to share every detail of her journey. Instead, she finds comfort and solace in knowing that God sees her efforts, her sacrifices, and her heart, and that is enough. Her actions, done in the quiet of her own life, may not be seen by the world, but they are seen by the one who matters most. The act of keeping some actions private also allows a woman to nurture the more vulnerable aspects of herself. Her emotional responses, the way she grieves, her deepest fears, and even her triumphs can be shared with only those who truly understand and care. Not everyone deserves to witness every layer of her being, and by keeping some parts of herself guarded, she allows herself to be fully present in moments of true connection, where trust and love can be built. By keeping certain actions hidden, a woman nurtures the sanctity of her heart, her emotions, and her relationship with God. She understands the value of privacy, the importance of guarding her inner world, and the power of living out her values in quiet, unseen ways. Through her actions, whether public or private, she continues to embody grace, humility, and strength. And in doing so, she builds a life that reflects the character of Christ. One that shines not through external recognition, but through the quiet integrity of a woman who knows her worth in the eyes of her Creator. There are moments in every woman's life when her heart is torn between the desire to express every thought, every emotion, and the understanding that some things should remain silent, hidden from the view of others. These internal battles, these deep, intimate experiences, are often the ones that shape her character the most. It is in these moments when the pain, joy, or confusion of life threatens to spill over into the world that she must learn to guard her emotions with wisdom and care. A woman's ability to maintain control over what she reveals to the world is a vital part of her strength, and often what she keeps hidden from others is just as powerful as what she chooses to share. One area that a woman must learn to guard is her vulnerability. Vulnerability is a beautiful and powerful trait, but it also needs to be protected. A woman who allows herself to be emotionally exposed in every circumstance can quickly become susceptible to the negative forces of the world, criticism, judgment, and the harshness of people's opinions. There is a grace in choosing when to show her vulnerability and when to protect her heart from the world's hurtful influences. Her ability to do this requires wisdom and emotional intelligence, recognizing that not every moment requires sharing everything she feels. Sometimes the best protection for a woman's heart is in what she keeps to herself. Her dreams, for example, are often sacred and personal, something only she fully understands. These are the dreams that may not yet be ready to be shared with others. She might hold them close to her heart, not out of fear or secrecy, but because she understands that some dreams need time to grow, time to be nurtured by prayer, time to be shaped by the wisdom that only God can provide. By keeping them to herself, she allows them to grow in an environment of peace and safety, far from the critical eyes of those who might not yet understand. Her goals and ambitions, too, are sometimes best kept hidden from the world. There is no need to announce every goal, every dream, or every plan before it is fully realized. In fact, by sharing too early, a woman risks facing criticism, doubts, and a premature end to her efforts. By keeping her plans close to her chest, she allows herself the space to act confidently, free from the weight of others' expectations or judgments. She is free to pursue her path with clarity and purpose, trusting that the unfolding of her life is in God's hands. When the time is right, her success will speak for itself. And those who doubted her will see the strength that came from her quiet perseverance. The pain she carries is another area that sometimes needs to be kept private. Life can bring challenges, betrayals, losses, disappointments that hurt deeply. These wounds are not always meant to be shared with the world, especially when a woman has not yet fully healed. Sometimes the act of healing requires silence and solitude. It is in these times of inner turmoil that a woman must learn to lean on God, to cry out to Him in prayer, and to allow Him to heal the deepest parts of her soul. Not every person needs to know the details of her pain. Only God truly understands the weight of it. As she navigates through her healing process, she can trust that He will provide the comfort and strength she needs, even when it feels too heavy to share. Additionally, a woman may keep her acts of kindness and generosity hidden from the world. In a culture that often seeks to reward and praise every good deed, there is a certain power in giving quietly without fanfare. When a woman chooses to help others, whether through financial support, offering her time, or lending a listening ear, without seeking recognition, she experiences the truest form of selflessness. Her actions are not motivated by the applause of the world, but by her love for God and her desire to reflect His goodness. These secret acts of kindness build her character, strengthen her spirit, and lead her closer to the heart of God. Her faith, too, is something that sometimes needs to remain hidden, not out of fear, but out of respect for the sacredness of her relationship with God. While it is important to share the love of Christ with others, not every aspect of her spiritual life needs to be exposed to the world. There is a beauty in the quiet devotion she has with God, the moments of prayer, meditation, and worship that are known only to Him. These moments strengthen her and deepen her connection to the Creator. Her faith is not something to be flaunted for the approval of others, but rather something that grows in the solitude of her heart. The relationships she has, whether with family, friends, or a spouse, are also areas that deserve to be protected. Not every detail of these relationships should be shared with others, as doing so can weaken the trust and intimacy that exists between the people involved. When a woman keeps her most intimate relationships protected, she creates a sanctuary where love, trust, and commitment can flourish. These relationships are not for the approval or gossip of others. They are sacred spaces where she and those she loves can grow and experience the depth of connection that only time and dedication can bring. At times, the ambitions and aspirations a woman has are not meant to be shouted from the rooftops. There are dreams, hopes, and desires within her that need to be protected from the judgments of others. When a woman learns to keep her aspirations close to her heart, she shields herself from the discouragement that often comes from sharing her dreams too early. She keeps her goals private, not out of secrecy, but as a way of nurturing them in the quiet of her heart, allowing them to grow in the fertile soil of her trust in God's timing. Finally, some of the deepest wisdom a woman possesses is often best kept to herself. The lessons she has learned through years of hardship, growth, and reflection are not always for public consumption. Her wisdom, born out of experience and pain, is a precious gift that she can use to guide and support others when the time is right. But just as a treasure is hidden away in a safe place, her deepest insights are sometimes meant to be shared only with those who are truly ready to hear them. By keeping some things hidden, she allows her wisdom to mature and be shared when it can truly make an impact. In this way, she reflects the wisdom of Proverbs, which speaks of the value of a woman who speaks words of wisdom at the right time, knowing when to listen, when to speak, and when to remain silent. In doing so, she guards her peace, her purpose, and her identity, allowing God to work in the quiet, hidden spaces of her life. And in these spaces, her true beauty and strength flourish, far from the eyes of the world, but deeply seen and cherished by the one who created her. There are moments in every woman's life when her character is tested, when she is faced with choices that challenge her beliefs, her values, and her understanding of the world around her. One of the greatest challenges she may face is to navigate the complexities of self-image and perception in a world that constantly bombards her with messages about what she should be, how she should look, and what she should do. But a woman who understands the importance of guarding certain aspects of her life will find peace in knowing that she does not have to conform to the world's standards. She does not have to reveal everything about herself for the approval of others. In fact, some of the most beautiful parts of who she is, the core of her identity, must be shielded from public view. Her self-worth, for example, is an area that requires constant guarding. In a society that often ties her woman's value to external factors, her appearance, her career, her social status, there is a danger in basing her sense of worth on what others think of her. A woman who has learned to keep her self-worth rooted in the truth of who God says she is, rather than in the fleeting opinions of others, stands strong in her identity. She understands that her value is intrinsic, not something that can be shaken by the opinions or criticisms of those around her. This kind of strength does not come from external validation, but from knowing that she is deeply loved by God, created with purpose, and cherished just as she is. This is a truth she must hold on to tightly, even when the world tries to convince her otherwise. Moreover, a woman's mental and emotional resilience is something that she must protect fiercely. In a world that is filled with negativity, distractions, and a constant flood of information, it is easy to lose focus and become overwhelmed by the chaos of daily life. But when a woman learns to guard her thoughts and emotions, she is able to maintain clarity and peace in the midst of turmoil. She knows when to step back, take a breath, and recalibrate her mind and heart. By doing so, she keeps herself from being carried away by the winds of stress, anxiety, or frustration. Her emotional stability becomes a powerful force in her life, enabling her to respond to challenges with grace and confidence, rather than being swept away by every storm that comes her way. The way a woman manages her time is another area that deserves careful consideration. Time is one of the most precious resources we have, and how a woman chooses to spend it speaks volumes about what she values. There is wisdom in learning to prioritize her commitments, relationships, and personal well-being over the demands of others. In a world that often pulls her in many directions, a woman who has learned to manage her time effectively guards herself from burnout and exhaustion. She understands that not every request requires her to give of herself, and that she has the right to say no when necessary. Her time is a reflection of her boundaries, her values, and her self-respect, and she should guard it with the same care she would give to a treasure. A woman's intuition is another powerful force that she must trust and protect. God has gifted every woman with an inner sense of knowing, a quiet voice that whispers truth in moments of uncertainty. This intuition can guide her in decisions, in relationships, and in navigating the complexities of life. Yet, in a world that often encourages logic over instinct, it can be easy to disregard this inner voice. But when a woman learns to trust her intuition, she unlocks a powerful tool that helps her make decisions with confidence. She knows when something feels right and when it feels wrong. She can discern truth from deception, sincerity from manipulation, and safety from danger. Her intuition is a gift. And protecting it from external noise and distractions ensures that she remains connected to the wisdom that flows from within her. Finally, the way a woman handles her own vulnerabilities is something that deserves both protection and care. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness in a world that prizes strength and independence. But in truth, it is one of the most beautiful and courageous aspects of being human. A woman who embraces her vulnerability does so not out of weakness, but out of strength. She allows herself to be open and honest about her struggles, her fears, and her dreams. But she does so with wisdom, knowing that vulnerability is not for everyone. It is not something to be shared carelessly or with those who will not handle it with care. When she learns to protect her vulnerability, she creates a safe space where she can heal, grow, and connect with others on a deep, authentic level. These aspects, her self-worth, her emotional resilience, her time, her intuition, and her vulnerability, are not just elements of her personality. They are the building blocks of her strength. When a woman learns to guard them, she does not do so out of fear or defensiveness, but out of wisdom. She understands that by protecting these parts of herself, she is giving them the opportunity to flourish in the fullness of God's love and grace. And as she allows them to grow and mature, she becomes the woman she was always meant to be, strong, confident, and unshakable in her identity. So let us remember that in a world that constantly demands more from us, the true power lies in learning to guard what is most precious. By doing so, we allow ourselves to be transformed, not by the pressures of society, but by the quiet strength that comes from within. A woman's resilience, often built through the experiences she's weathered in life, is one of her most precious treasures. It's easy to forget just how much strength a woman carries when the weight of the world rests on her shoulders. From the battles she faces in silence, to the sacrifices she makes without recognition, resilience is forged in the fire of adversity. Yet it is an inner strength that must be safeguarded against the pressures of the world around her. The more resilient she becomes, the more she learns how to navigate storms with grace and faith. But to nurture resilience, a woman must be intentional. She must recognize that her resilience isn't just about enduring difficulties. It's about understanding how to rise after every fall. It's about looking at every obstacle as an opportunity for growth. And it's about giving herself grace when she stumbles along the way. We often hear that what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. But there's a deeper truth. What doesn't break her builds her. And in those moments when life seems to press down the hardest, a woman who understands the value of resilience will always rise up with a spirit unbroken, fortified by each battle she has fought and emerged victorious from. Moreover, this resilience isn't something she must navigate alone. It's cultivated within the community, within the relationships she builds and the support she receives. A woman who has learned the importance of fostering healthy, supportive relationships knows that these bonds provide the strength to weather storms that would otherwise be unbearable. A resilient woman is not afraid to lean on others when needed, and isn't ashamed to admit when she needs help. She recognizes that strength lies not just in the ability to stand firm on her own, but in the wisdom of knowing when to ask for support, when to trust others, and when to share her burden. At the same time, a woman's resilience does not mean she has to suppress or ignore her emotions. It means she learns to manage them with wisdom, knowing that expressing vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to her humanity. In a world that often praises stoicism, the ability to allow oneself to feel, whether joy, sorrow, or frustration, is a sign of strength. not fragility. By embracing her emotions, a woman fosters deeper relationships, more authentic connections, and greater self-awareness. Through emotional vulnerability, resilience is refined into something more profound, a quiet, unshakable peace amidst the storm. As she faces the challenges of life, a resilient woman must also keep in mind that the road is often long and the journey is full of twists and turns. It's easy to lose sight of the path ahead when one is caught up in the difficulties of the moment. But there is always a greater purpose at work. The struggles she faces today are not without purpose. Each challenge shapes her, each difficulty refines her, and each victory brings her closer to the woman God has destined her to become. There is a power in realizing that even in her struggles, she is not just enduring, she is becoming stronger, wiser, and more aligned with the purpose that has been placed in her heart. With resilience, a woman learns to trust not only in her ability to persevere, but in God's divine plan for her life. She finds peace in knowing that she is never alone, even when she feels abandoned by the world. God walks with her through every trial, leading her to the other side where blessings await. Every hardship is a stepping stone toward her destiny. And in those moments when she feels weakest, she must remember that her resilience is ultimately rooted in His strength. And through Him, she can do all things. In her journey of building resilience, a woman must also learn to celebrate her progress. Too often, women find themselves focusing on what they haven't yet achieved or what they've yet to conquer, forgetting to pause and give thanks for the victories they've already won. She may look back and see a trail of battles fought and triumphs gained, but in the midst of the struggle, she forgets to acknowledge her own growth. It is important for her to pause and reflect on how far she's come. Celebrating small wins along the way reinforces her belief in herself, bolstering her resolve to continue pressing forward. This is where the resilience of a woman becomes something beautiful, something others can look to for inspiration. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. It's about embracing the challenges of life and allowing them to shape her rather than break her. Through the fire, she emerges not only unscathed, but more radiant, more confident, and more determined to walk in her God-given purpose. In conclusion, my friends, a woman who has learned to guard her resilience, her worth, her time, and her vulnerability is a woman who has embraced the fullness of her divine design. She is not defined by the world's expectations, nor is she swayed by the fleeting opinions of others. She stands firm in the truth of who God has created her to be, a woman of strength, grace, and purpose. The journey to becoming the woman God has called her to be is not always easy, but it is a journey worth taking. Every challenge, every heartache, and every moment of doubt is an opportunity for growth, for refinement, and for deepening her faith. As she walks this path, she becomes a beacon of hope, a living testimony of what it means to trust in God's plan and to persevere with courage. So, my dear friends, I urge you today, whether you are a woman or a man, if you find yourself facing trials, doubts, or struggles, remember that you are not alone. God walks with you, strengthening you in ways you may not even realize. And as you guard the precious parts of your soul, the parts that make you uniquely you, know that you are becoming stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your divine purpose every single day. Let us never forget that we are called to shine with the light of Christ, to be resilient in the face of adversity, and to act with unwavering faith. And just as a woman in all her strength and grace can conquer what the world tries to throw her way, so too can each of us stand firm, trusting in the promises of our Creator. May we go forward with courage, with boldness, and with a heart fully surrendered to God's plan for our lives.